Because the way that I was introduced to sororities was not positive.
Know yourself before you jump into anything.
Yeah, definitely.
That's probably like the best advice that I can ever give anyone. It's like, what do you mean by time? Is it that you're truly giving a high school student a day to write a 50-page paper?
Okay.
Or is it like, oh, I need them to have time to sit with the curriculum? Because those are two different things, right?
There are two different perspectives. There are those that who strive to have a comfortable life, and there are those that strive to have it all. Is there any way we can, there's like an in between to those two perspectives? Welcome back to another episode of the Speeds Podcast. I am your host, Daniel Akin Binu. Once again, I want to say thank you so much to our audio listeners and our viewers for tuning into another episode of the Speeds Podcast. Without further ado, we're going to get into today's episode. Now, before I introduce our guest for the day, and the reason why I have these glasses on, I want to take this time to thank the BKIA Black Kids in Action Performing Arts Group for sponsoring the entirety of season 2 of the Speeds Podcast. As you can see, we are kind of doing a little bit of upgrading. You can look at my iPad for all the visual viewers. You can see my iPad is looking very, very nice. I mean, I'm liking how it's looking. And now we have our little oval. Soon we're going to be giving away merch, so please stay tuned for that. Follow us on all our social media platforms to stay updated to when we're dropping our merch. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to, actually, I can't introduce her like that. There's a reason why I have these sunglasses on. And it's because I'm sitting here in the midst of someone who I consider a shining star. She is so bright that I needed to have these sunglasses on. Please, could the congregation, did I say that right? Could the congregation help me introduce the lady legend, Dr. Shatina Jones? Come on, give her a round of applause.
You are too kind. Too kind.
Please, take this time to introduce yourself.
So, hey everybody, I am so excited to be here. My name is Dr. Shatina Jones Smith. I literally recently got married. So I have to keep reminding myself about the Smith. Heavy on the Smith. And I currently serve as the Associate Vice President for the Division of Student Affairs at the University of Windsor. However, I'm just here talking to my peeps. I'm not here in an official capacity. I'm here talking to my peeps because it's always good to talk to the up and coming leaders. So I guess I'll share a little bit about myself,
Yes,
right?
please.
So I have been in the Windsor area roughly for about 2 years. I'm originally from the States. And just saw a really good opportunity just to come and be in community with folks in Windsor. I am a proud Detroiter. Did everything in Detroit. I went to school all in Detroit and went on to get my undergrad and master's degree from Eastern Michigan University and then my PhD from Indiana State University. So some of the things that I would say that are kind of like not necessarily in my bio is like I am an avid person for community service. I love to volunteer with my sorority. I enjoy being in community with people, working with people. It's always like, that's where I get my energy from. I tell people when they ask me, what is one of the one things that changed your life? It was going to do an actual mission trip in Africa. My very first time being in the continent was going to be with the people.
Where in Africa did you go?
So I went to Kenya. I went to Kenya and I didn't get the opportunity though to go to the safari, but I was one with the people and I loved it. I wound up going with my church and my church partners with one of the ministries there, and it was about education. It was about upliftment. Of course, it was about also centering on religious values and such. But for me, it was, wow, this little Black girl from Detroit is in Africa. Like I am in the motherland and really being able to see stuff for yourself, because everybody won't tell you everything that's on TV, all the infomercials, but I was there to experience it to myself. As a result of that trip, I was able to touch a little bit of Amsterdam and then come on back, but it changed my life working, supporting people, sharing my knowledge, because it always goes two ways in terms of when you're in community with one another. So love that. And I also like spending time with my family. I love my husband. I love my siblings, my cousins, everything. Like I'm truly a family person, and my bonus daughter and my bonus children as well. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Please, we need to give her another round of applause because, like I said, she's just an absolute star. Dr. Shatina Jones, before we continue, you mentioned a lot about, your sorority, you living in the States, in Detroit. From the perspective of someone who lives in Windsor, in Canada specifically,
Mm-hmm.
how would you say, the difference is between living in Detroit and living in, and kind of working, specifically working in Canada, like the cultural differences, and how was it like growing up in Detroit for you?
So I would say, for funny story, I actually my childhood house is about 15 minutes from the border.
Oh,
So I spent lots of summers, especially when family would come from out of town. We always brought them to Windsor. So I've always felt connected to Windsor. Windsor doesn't to me feel like a different country. It feels like if you're thinking about like family and relationships, it feels like a first cousin,
oh,
right?
okay.
So really being connected, like we got different moms, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we in different countries, but we are definitely interconnected and connected. So for me, I know that Detroit has its own culture, right? Especially when you're talking about like black and brown people, but Detroit is a vibe. It is its own entity, right? I come to Windsor, it's the same thing. Windsor has its own vibe. Like there are things that are special about Windsor, and I love that. And then it's also really cool to see how specifically Detroit and Windsor have been interconnected from a historical standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
if you take like the civil rights movement, people like Rosa Parks would be in Detroit, but she will also do work here
Here.
in Windsor. The
Mm-hmm.
same thing with Dr. Martin Luther King. Dr. Martin Luther King would come to this space and be in community with folks in Windsor too. So for me, I know that they are distinctively different, but at the same time, it's also that interconnectedness of being in this particular part of the country. One of the things that I like to say is that this is not the end of Canada. This is the beginning of Canada. So perspective is always everything
Mm-hmm.
as we look at like culture and we look at like who's setting the tone in Ontario and looking. Windsor plays a huge part in this particular region. And that's something that we should all be proud of.
Okay, now while you were talking, I was really thinking about if I should ask this question or not. But between Detroit and Windsor, this is your opinion, your perspective. Which one do you think is like better in terms of, you know, like you mentioned like the vibe, like which one would you prefer?
So here's the thing. Much like when we think about family, you can't pick. You cannot pick,
Mm-hmm.
right? But what I will say is I think that they are uniquely distinct in their own ways. And I also think it's like, what's the vibe that you're going for? If you're going for that low key, chill vibe, I'm thinking Windsor. If you're going for like this all encompassing sports space,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
then that's going to be the city. It's going to be Detroit because I think they have all like 4 or 5 teams of like all of the major teams there.
Okay.
But I think is what is the vibe that you're going for? What is the energy that you're looking for? What is it that you're trying to get? I mean, because equally both of the respective cities, they have something unique to bring to the table, and that's important.
So like Detroit is more lively than Windsor. Like if you want to experience a more lively, like you want to go somewhere that's more lively. You think about going to Detroit. You want a little bit more laid back, you would think of
Well, I think it's
Windsor.
what do you define as like lively? Like, what is it that you're looking for? Like, when I think of Windsor, I think of a place where like I can center myself. I think of a place where I can, be one where I can really, not have to deal with the busyness,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can slow down, you can feel like the wind on your face, like you can experience all of the seasons and just really just be grounded.
Okay.
I think sometimes in Detroit, like it's the Motor City for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's the
Mm-hmm.
Motor City. It's go 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 go. Sometimes you might have to go out and look for those calming spaces. You might have to spend a little bit more time at like Belle Isle versus getting to Ojibwe Park is more easy. So it's more of like what are you looking for? I think again like you got to pick your vibe and then you just got to pick a city.
Definitely, I agree. I was just like thinking about it. The other day I was studying for my midterms because, I mean, by the time this episode comes out, midterms are beyond done. But I was studying for my midterms, and I seen one of the resident students coming in, and I saw him holding Wingstop wings, and I was just thinking, I'm like, imagine I went to the U.S., man. A lot of things that the U.S. has, there are a lot of things that we don't have the US has. And I'm thinking about it and I'm like, imagine how life could be if Canada and the US had the same things. We wouldn't be able to really identify its, distinct differences, which I just find very cool. You mentioned something about being in a sorority club. Can you kind of elaborate on that?
Yes, so I am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. It is the first Black sorority founded by Black women in the United States. Now, we're a global sorority, so we actually have chapters all over. Most recently, the most recent chapter that was chartered was in Puerto Rico, and we're going to be chartering another chapter in the continent of Africa in Ghana in January. So there actually is a chapter here in Windsor, and there's also a chapter in Toronto. So we have undergraduate chapters, and then we also have graduate chapters as well. So for me, I joined as an undergraduate student, and then I continued on my commitment because it really is a lifetime commitment. So we have to go to meetings. We have initiatives where we go out and we are in community and being in community. So for me, like I attend city council meetings for my respective chapter. I am volunteering. I'm probably on the weekends if I'm not like working, like I'm volunteering, like that's my jam, like that's what I spend my time doing. We have done coat drives. So in the States, they have like institutional types. And so I know like you all have colleges and university. We have specific institutions that were founded for specific reasons. So HBCUs are historically Black colleges and universities. So one of our initiatives a couple years ago was to raise a significant amount of money for historical Black colleges and universities, which were in most cases founded by freed former slaves or those abolitionists who were interconnected with understanding that knowledge is power and everything, and education is important for those who are Black and brown. So
And this
we,
isn't just in the university that you went to, right?
yeah,
This
this
is
was for
the
all
so
of this is
okay,
for so every across the globe at this
okay,
point.
okay.
So we raised $1 million in a day.
Wait,
Yeah,
sorry.
we raised $1 million in a day.
Are you
Uh,
hearing that?
a day. So, and
What?
that goes back to those institutions. So, when we think about service and really being able to continue to help have a global impact, definitely my sorority is one that continues to do that. And that helped shape me as a person. So, there are other Black curricular organizations as well. So, they have sororities and they have fraternities. So, the sororities are going to be for the women, and then the fraternities are going to be
And
for
the
the
men.
men. So,
Okay.
you have for the women's sororities, you have Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. For the fraternities, you have Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. You have Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. You have Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, and Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated.
Okay.
So there is a coalition or um, a group of folks to where essentially like we have a council, which is going to be the National Panhellenic Council or the NPHC, which governs all of those organizations. And when I say govern, it helps us be on the same page. They don't necessarily the NPHC doesn't necessarily tell those organizations what to do per se. However, we all are almost always interconnected. Each organization was founded for different values as it relates to the Black community, but it all centers around service, scholarship, being in a community, and sisterhood or brotherhood, and that looks different in each organization. Some of them were founded by former slaves. Some of them was also founded by individuals who saw a different need in the community. So you will see them globally. So a good example is Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is actually one of my sorority sisters.
Oh,
So
okay.
she was initiated at Howard University, which is a HBCU, and you could see folks from the Divine Nine or the MPHC. And Divine Nine and MPHC is interchangeable language. People were uniting around someone who they knew had a common interest as them. But you will see, and we all have different colors. So it's definitely community, and it's really about building character, as well as helping folks evolve. So I can tell you that my sorority has been extremely, extremely helpful for me as a person and has helped me grow as a woman. It's a reason why I am at this stage of my life,
Yeah.
and I'm able to rise to this level because I started off in undergrad being a student leader and joining an organization that helped develop me as a young woman, and it continues to bless my life. So
So this you kind of answered my next question. My next question was really gonna be like, what is it really? Like, what is a sorority club really? And from what I've got, it's a club that provides service, you said service, scholarship, and you said brotherhood and sisterhood.
Mm-hmm.
So those are like the main points.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that, because the way that I was introduced to sororities was not positive. They really made it seem like sorority clubs or fraternity clubs were clubs where people would come together and feel like they were so like they were better than others, but with the intention of we're also trying to make a difference in our community. I wasn't really seeing a difference. Like I don't want to give a specific example, but there's a sorority. I don't want to. I'm not gonna name the sorority club, but there's a sorority club that I've been hearing about over and over again, and
Oh.
I've not really seen them do anything.
So then there's that invites us into a different conversation,
Okay.
right? So sororities and fraternities, they're going to look different, right? So you have those who were founded for certain reasons. So some are founded as social organizations. There are some that are not founded as social organizations, or they were initially founded as a social organization, and then they transition more into the service. So it's going to look different. So you have the Interfraternal Council, which is the IFC, that is going to be those fraternities that were founded prior to the Black Greek Letter organizations founded, as well as the College Panhellenic or the Panhell. I'm not sure which language because it's shifted a little bit. Those are going to be the other sororities that were founded before the Black Greek Letter organizations were founded. So there's going to be a different vibe for each particular council. So you have the ISC, the IFC, the CPC, and then you have the MPHC. And then there's also the Multicultural Greek Council as well. So there are different councils, and different sororities and fraternities have different missions. So some of this is specifically tied to like being mission driven, and staying true to whatever that mission is for you. So some of it is not. So sometimes organizations evolve, sometimes they don't. But you're speaking to, there are different focuses. So I would say this: don't put all the Greek letter organizations in the same box, because they, quite frankly, weren't founded all on the same tenets.
Of course, yes.
So that is helpful. So look at them individually in each, because sometimes there's a culture there that may not be a culture in another organization. So if I speak for the MPHC, there are different cultures where, like, you might have one fraternity that focuses heavily on the brotherhood. Some focus on more so like focusing on civil rights and civic engagement. And when I say civil rights, really it's the civic involvement. So you might see them more out in the front, having like political conversations, political discussions. And some folks focus heavily on community service. So yes, there are tenets of the betterment. So when you say, and I'm thinking of one of the organizations that I think you're talking about, that when you think about people think that they're better, what happens when you're in an organization, whether it's in a sorority or a fraternity, some sorority, fraternity, or a club or a society, if it's doing it right, you will go to another level. Not to say that you're better than someone else, but you will elevate to another level. So sometimes in that elevation, if the elevation and the maturity are on the same level, it can be all viewed as immaturity. Even though your elevation has taken you to another level, perhaps your mental capacity and how you treat people has not done that. So that's one of the things that is very intentional and being very thoughtful about that as well. I would also say the difference is that with clubs and organizations, sometimes you can join a club today and be out of it tomorrow. Particularly with the NPHC organizations, it is a lifetime commitment. So it is a lifetime commitment to the values of your organization. So someone can pick up a phone right now and call me. I wouldn't answer because we're in a session, but they can pick up a phone and call me, and they would say, hey, sister, so and so, I got somebody coming in. Here's a good example. My son is going to be coming to be a student at St. Clair College. Would you mind getting to know them? I just need to know that somebody's in the area. And that literally happens. And I actually did it once when I was doing my graduate internship. I was going to Ithaca, New York, because I was doing an internship at Cornell University. And I was like, I don't know anybody at Cornell. Let me see if I have any sorors who are there. looked them up. I looked up the person who was the president. I looked up the person who was the graduate advisor who just so happened to work on campus. I said, hey, I'm Sister So-and-so. I'll be there for the entire summer. I just want to let somebody know that I'm here. And don't you know, they welcomed me with a welcome wagon. I knew everything about Corning, New York, Ithaca, New York. And that's just about like that connection, right? So, but sometimes again, like when you're in an organization, it may end either the day, the semester, or it might end at the college. So for most of the, well, not even most, all of the MPAC organizations, they are all lifetime commitments. For CPAC, IFC, they become what is called alumni members, so they can choose when they want to engage. We don't get that choice. Like there's an expectation that you live out the values and beliefs of said organization. That is so very important in all that you do. It's so very important that you do that. So there is a different level of responsibility. So for me in particular, like I just can't come any space looking raggedy, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's an expectation that I'm going to always be my best, right? I'm going to always treat people with love, kindness. I want to always be, the epitome of a good person. If everybody else having a bad experience with all the people in the room, I need to make sure that experience stops with me. Mm-hmm. And that comes from knowing the values and beliefs and centering yourself with the said organization in a way that makes sense.
Okay, so then can I ask, is there, how am I going to word this question? What if you fail to meet those expectations? And again, because like you said, it's a commitment, so you're well aware that you're going to commit. But in this situation where you feel like, okay, maybe this isn't, although I still abide with these values, I don't think I want to continue for the rest of my life at being in this sorority. Is there like I don't know, I don't want to say punishment. I don't think there's some kind of punishment, but is there like that, like what happens when you just say I'm done?
Well, most people just go what we call like inactive, right? Mm-hmm. So you can be at a point to where like I'm at a crossroads, but most people pick it back up. But like let's say I fall on hard times. And like I just talked about elevation, I talked about all these things, and I'm just not my best self, and I don't feel like I'm my best self. Sometimes you need to take a moment, do some self-awareness, do some self-check-in, and then check in on you and check in on your heart. Whether it's a sorority, whether it's a club or organization, one of the things that I always say is know yourself as a human being, because when you know yourself, sometimes that moment doesn't come where you're like, I'm done. I'm over this, because sometimes we go through this phase where like we want to try something. I want to try this. I want to do this because little Shatina doing it. I want to do this because they doing, like, know yourself before you jump into anything.
Yeah, definitely.
That's probably like the best advice that I can ever give anyone is to try things, but also know yourself. Sometimes we want to like, I want to try this major. I want to do this. I want to do that. Know who you are. I think about, because I'm not old, but I'm old enough. Like there used to be a commercial coming on. Like you would have the got milk commercials where you would need to drink milk, and then all of a sudden you grow up to be this tall, strong person. But then we also had the commercials where it says, "This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs," right? And you always had people trying to help you understand what your moral compass is and was. Knowing what your values are. And I know we're going to talk a bit about this a little bit later, but talking about like family, talking about more specifically, where do these things come from, right? It is important to be like, and this is a good example, when somebody goes in the store, you have a choice. Am I going to pay these people, or am I going to walk out and be a person who's a klepto, right? Where are your values? Your values will stop you. Your values and your identity will say, listen, sis, you got this $5 in your pocket. What is the point of walking out of here without paying for something, right? But sometimes when you don't know who you are, it's the thrill of, will they catch me? I wonder, do these cameras really work? One of my favorite phrases is play stupid games, win stupid prizes, right? Like we all know there's a consequence for everything you do. And most of the time, even when you do positive things, sometimes there's a consequence for that, right? So your values kick in when there's questionable things. So you never ever want to do anything that's questionable, but you first got to know yourself and what is in your heart. And sometimes, so going back to one of your questions, so when you think about being in a place like Windsor, sometimes you have to quiet the noise to just feel, to just like understand, to really meditate, to write things down, because the busyness of life will have you going, I'm going here, I'm going there, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And then before you know it, you've done all the things and you didn't even do the thing that you needed to do. Yeah. So really being able to take that moment and really being able to like lean into that is so important. One thing about my particular generation is that I didn't have like truly growing up from like, I would say grade, I think it's K through like grade 8. We didn't have cell phones for real. Cell phones, and I'm talking about we had the big block cell phones that you flipped over and it was a whole thing. Like there was no technology, there was no text message. We also had the phones that were in the console of the car, right?
Oh, okay.
Like car, like it was truly a car phone, right? So when you think about like all of the distractions, right? All of the distractions, the ways in which we can get off centered and the ways in which things can inform what we do. It's so many there. Like there is an art to marketing, right? So we all want to know why, like we was just sitting here and then all of a sudden a commercial come on and now we want some mac and cheese and we want all of these things because there's a sensationalizing of those said things. But also there's a moment of overstimulation, right? But when do you recognize what's happening to you? And when it's like, I just ate, why do I need that macaroni? I don't need that, right? So again, knowing yourself, being able to recognize what's happening, that takes some maturity, that takes some growth, and that takes a lot of time. But sometimes we want things right here, right now. I want to do this, I want to do that, and we skip sometimes some of those good learning opportunities. So
I definitely agree. Even how you, the fact that you said some of us like to like get things really quickly, I can already see myself and how like I can relate to that. I'm someone that like, I just want the situations to be solved like that. I want to be able to acquire those things like that. Yes, I know it's going to take time, but at the end of the day, I have that inner feeling that like if I know that I can work this hard or I can push as far as I can, then I should be able to acquire those things. But that's not always like the reality. And you help me to understand that even more now, and I really appreciate that. We're gonna go a little bit away from sororities for just a bit. I'm not sure if we'll come back to it, but I want to say thank you first for educating us on sorority clubs, fraternity clubs, because again, I know I'm not the only one that's had this type of like point of view or this type of introduction to sorority clubs. So to summarize what sorority clubs really are, there are the ones that's like you said, the ones that do good work. They provide service, scholarships, and the most two important ones, brotherhood and sisterhood. I really loved how you emphasized how the fact that you can pick up a phone and call someone that you didn't even, or you don't know, not even pick up the phone and call, but like research, like, oh, who in the area of Colorado or in Manitoba is in this sorority club, and you just find a list of people there. Like that definitely shows a sense of like, oh, belonging, knowing that I don't know who's in the area, but I do know that they're in this sorority club. That means that their values probably align with mine. So let me go say something to them, and then it just keeps growing from there. So I definitely appreciate you giving us a better understanding of it. I really, really appreciate that. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, I would just say like most of our organizations are international. Like we have an exceptional international region. We actually, and I'm trying to think of the other chapter that we just opened. We just chartered a chapter in London. Like I said, we have gone, like folks are doing this because some of the folks they've been in the States, they've joined as undergrads, and then they went back to their respective home countries and they want to continue that legacy. So, that piece is always important, and really just having conversations and dialogue about stuff like this is huge. It's really, really, really huge. So that's all I will add. But I know you got some more questions for me.
No worries. Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you so much again. We're going to move on with this podcast session and go to a segment that we used to do back in season 1 called the Hot Take of the Week. If you guys remember that, we go online searching for the craziest, the messiest hot takes, talk about them, and try to see both different perspectives in this hot take. So this hot take of the week is from Twitter. This is from a high school teacher that tweeted, I'm starting to think that pushing high school students to do college level work without giving them the necessary time is just producing bad college students and worse high school ones. What are your thoughts on this tweet, Dr. Shatina Jones?
Well, I always think that preparation is key, right? I would say that everybody doesn't need um, to be pushed in that way, right? So what I mean by that is there are lots of people who feel like every student should do dual enrollment, every student should do AP classes, every student should do like they should go on to just be studying, doing college levels things, and when I mean college level, not to where like we have transitioned from say like an MLA to like an APA format, but like full blown, they're a college student. There's a difference, right? Doing college level work is the preparation for doing that, right? So I would probably be intrigued to know the timing piece that this user is saying in this tweet, right? It's like what do you mean by time? Is it that you're truly giving a high school student a day to write a 50-page paper,
Okay.
or is it like, oh, I need them to have time to sit with the curriculum, because those are two different things, right? And I also think that they would yield two different results. Now where I would say, because I'm going to go to my high school experience,
Yes,
so
that was going to be my next
I went
question.
to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Senior High School in Detroit, one of the best, the only, the number one high school in Detroit. And don't let anybody tell you anything else,
She's
because
giving them the free shout
we
outs.
are not second to anybody. We are part of one of the big three, as there are three high schools that I would say are for high achieving students, right? So I went to one of the high schools that was for high achieving students. I consider myself a high achiever. I've always gotten high marks, and it's just who I am. So I was in the college prep program. So in the college prep program, for me, I learned a lot. So this is context, right? So you do the college prep academy your ninth grade year, and then in your 10th, 11th, 12th grade, you go to full college prep. So I have a love for math. It's not a secret. Like, I love math. My math teacher figured that out. So in grade 9, I was swimming, like I was breezing through algebra, probably because I had already taken algebra in my 8th grade year, because again, I was high achieving. So my math teacher was like, "We gonna put you in 10th and 11th grade math at the same time."
How did they do that?
Because they was good at what they do. So I was taking geometry and algebra 3 and 4, I believe,
Okay.
at the same time. So I was scheduled to do, and I did. 11th grade, I did pre-calculus, which most 12th graders at that time were going to be doing pre-calculus as a 12th grader. I was doing pre-calculus as an 11th grader, and then I was supposed to take calculus as a 12th grader, but my teacher stuff happened, and I was like, I don't feel like doing this, and then I went on about my business. But for me, I was already positioned to do that. I was amongst the people who were like-minded, to where we did that. At my high school at the time, we had a whole curriculum for math, science, and applied technology. We also had, it was CISC, Commerce, International Studies, and I forgot the other C. So, but they did international business. They had languages. So we had the languages of Japanese, Chinese, Latin, Spanish. So you would have, so like I only had to take Spanish like ninth or 10th grade, but the folks who were in CISC, they were doing different languages. So people left high school going to college being able to fluently speak like
Certain
Chinese,
language, yeah.
fluently speak
That's really
Japanese.
cool.
So it was, so you were challenged, but we knew what we were there for. Where for me, you have to, it's kind of like they say, you have to know your child, you have to know your student. That's not for everybody, right? So if you put your young person in an institution to where that is, that's important. I will say this: there should be some connections between whatever college and university is and the local school system, so that again, if the local school system is teaching something that is 5 years behind, naturally it's going to be a catch up when they get to the college and university. So when we are all partners in education, that is huge to where we know what's happening on a collegiate level. So let's say I'm going to use APA. So because that's my most favorite, my most memorable example. My teacher, who I love, Miss Francine Ambrose, she was my English teacher. Now I told you I was high achieving. So the first semester we had like a student teacher. I got a nice like A B in that class. So that's gonna be like 3 point, like I think the mark is like a 3.4, 3.7, somewhere in along in there. That marks, right? So when Miss Ambrose came, I didn't get that. I went to a good, like I think it would be like a 2.5.
Ooh.
And she was tough. Like she had my mom scared. But let me tell you something. In the ninth grade, I was learning how to use different levels of words. Like we used to have to do these books that help expand our vocabulary. We learned AP style, no thesis, no paper. We learned how to write in APA. So when we went to college, it was nothing. There were some people that were still learning MLA. There was not like a huge learning curve because when you write for like Chicago style MLA, APA, it's a different way of formatting your papers. It's a different way of doing that. Now I'll tell you in the moment, absolutely, it pushed me to no end. Okay, it pushed me all the way to like some because I was like, I don't know what's going on.
Like I can't be the problem.
No,
This
like,
is
and
wrong.
I'm like, how am I not doing well?
Yeah.
And she loved me, and I still got a C in her class. But when I tell you, when I went on to college, it helped me, right? Writing an APA helped me. My master's program, writing helped me. My PhD, now the PhD is a whole different bag. And when I tell you, like those papers, like I can format a paper and do my literary work now, but it's a different style. But I'm thankful that people thought enough to see me, right? They didn't want to let me hide. They challenged me to the point that made sense. But everybody, I don't think, needs to be pushed in that way, right? So if folks have, and I'm not even gonna say if, but how we do things is important. So I would definitely have to get the intention and thought behind like, what does it mean to like push people too hard so that they're whatever, not this? Like, is it that you are being unreasonable? Because y'all know in a college, what happens? They give you a syllabus. At the beginning of the semester, you get the syllabus. It tells you your date. So there's a level of planning there. You have a place where you can go to the writing support desk. You can go get math tutoring. You can go get all of these
The tools
kind
are
of
provided for
they're
you. Yeah.
they're provided for you, but it's also a roadmap to it. So it's always about that implementation and how you do things. So again, like I don't know, the intent behind that. I don't know if it's, sometimes people do want to do a little wonky little tweet message to get some sensationalizing, like to get a comment out of someone. But what I would say is it's all about really how you do it and how we are in partnership with people and how are we making those connections as it relates to curriculum and preparation for young people.
I definitely agree. Reading this tweet, I also tried to see it from my perspective. Did I feel like I was fully prepared when I stepped into uni, first year uni? I'll be very honest, I did not. And I think, I'm gonna come to my experience, but like reading this message or reading this tweet, I think she's saying it it sounds like it's been coming from the perspective of, oh, this is how things were for me back then. And the issue, the problems that she's facing now, a lot of the people didn't face it during her time. Maybe this is more of a question of why, not why are things changing, because things are always going to change, but why isn't there that expectation for the parents to the child that when you get to university, it's it don't get to when you get to high school, there's a more there's that pressure to kind of understand what it is that you want to do when you're done. I think that's kind of how I'm seeing it.
So here's another thing that I will say. So I'm gonna say something that I think you're trying to say, but if you're not trying to say it, this I'm gonna say it anyway. So before you get to college, you should have had some exposure to something that makes you want to go to college, right? Now, there's a level of privilege in saying that, right? Because everybody doesn't have access to the same things. But one of the things that I like about some of the things that have been happening around is like there's college prep, there's career readiness. Like everybody doesn't want to go to a college or university, but everybody has to get an education, if that makes sense. Whether you are going to the university because you want to be a zoologist, whether you want to own, operate, and you want to change music therapy, there needs to be a level of education. But how we get our young people there is important. So here's my questions would always be, what were the extracurriculars that the young person was in? Did they like those? So were they able to do some shadowing with someone? So everybody says they want to be a doctor, and then sometimes the people get in there and they fall out from blood because we didn't do any shadowing, right? Were there clubs in high school to where it exposed young people to doing different things? Like, have the young people actually left the province? Like, that is like a real question, right? Where have they been exposed to? Have they left this particular whatever area they are in? Because we all have dreams, and if their first kind of experience is of leaving whatever is going to college, what happens is there's a level of college, there's a level of culture shock, right? So if you've been in like a homogenous space to where everybody look like you doing all the same things, when you go and you're in a space, it's like, whoa, what's happening? Am I the problem? I'm different. What's going on? So it's the exposure. It's the conversations, but also too, it is the seeking of knowledge. So that could be on the young person. That also could be on the parent, because sometimes in some households, some parents have never been where their children are going. So if they've never been there, how can they prepare you to go somewhere? Sometimes they've never been. Sometimes they pray hard for you. Sometimes they might even send you to a cousin. They might phone a friend because they have not been there before, but they have aspirations for you to get there. So I'm thinking about some of the ancestors who they only had like a middle school or like grade 6, 7, 8, or like grades K through 5 education, but they sent their babies to school. So there's levels of support, there's levels of connections, there's levels of really being able to help young people. So for me, again, I'm here as the good Dr. Jones Smith, and not as the AVP for student experience. But I'll tell you, one of the reasons why I got in the profession is because my mom died, and we're coming up on 20 years here. I don't know when it's gonna come out, but it'll be 20 years in November. My mom died when I was a senior, and I had a younger sister in undergrad. And I am the oldest, so I'm managing all of that stuff, right? My mom was my primary parent, so I'm managing all of that. The people who helped me and picked me up were people at the university. There were people who were like, okay, I know you from working on this committee, because I was actively involved at my university as well. And they're like, this something bad has happened to you, and we gotta, like, I know, like, I can't do much for you, but I'll be here for you when you need me.
Yeah.
And those people literally were with me well after I graduated from undergrad. So how I got into this profession is that I wanted to pay it forward to the young people. So everything that I'm telling you, like, if people are like different and people are not, that is the voice that I want to be wherever I'm at, right? I want to always be helpful, but in the context of being at a university, would definitely love to be a help and of service to folks. So that is a part of that. So there are folks who come who do not have the context. People don't, like, all they know is I need my child to have a better experience. So for me, whenever I'm at work, I want to be that better experience for them.
Okay.
So
Okay. That I fully understand where you're coming from. So, Dr. Shatina Jones, getting to know you, I've come to know that you're very big on representation, especially, when it comes to representing the Black community here in Windsor and obviously in Detroit. Can you kind of just take this time to explain, why it matters for Black students, to see professors or even colored people in the same field that you're working in,
So I think that representation is huge, right? Like sometimes you need to see something that you want to be. I think that within the context of everything that happens, I know that oftentimes I may be the first one to do anything, right? Like I may be the first one, but for me, it's always I can't be the last. I cannot be the last person that somebody sees who looks like me. So it's so very important to show up for the young people. Like I said, and it kind of goes to this piece of really being able to make the connections. Sometimes I might be the first person that people see. I've been like growing up. I've been in whole cities where I'm the first black person that they've ever seen, and that experience happened to me in high school, where I'm in a town and people are like, "I've never seen a black person before," and I'm like,
Yeah, yikes.
it's a thing, right?
Like
But
what?
again, if I'm that first person, I don't want to be the last person. And I always want to make sure that I am role modeling things for all types of people. And it's not just, for me, it's like in every aspect of my life. Sometimes, like, I might be the only one in the movie theater who looks like me. I have been like, traveling is always interesting. Traveling is always interesting, but like when I fly first class, sometimes I'm definitely the only person who looks like me. So it's a space to where like I get comfortable in that space, and I show up for people because again I cannot be the last person that people see like me. So so very important. Representation is huge. Showing up, being present is huge, so that people know, because sometimes you feel lonely. You feel lonely. You feel like, oh, I don't know, am I ever gonna do, like, is this for me? But sometimes it's being in community. And it kind of reminds me about like this podcast, right? So this podcast is about community building. It's about connecting, at least from the shows that I've watched. It's about connecting community and having dialogue. That is so huge, and that contributes to that overall representation piece as well.
Who
So
knows? Maybe they like we don't even have to use that as an example, but maybe your profession, maybe people are like thinking, oh, I would love to go into something like that, but I don't really see a lot of people with my skin color or my culture that is in that is in that occupation. But now when they see you, they'll think, oh, okay, maybe I am capable of doing that because I see someone who looks like me that's also doing that as well. Yes, I 100% agree. Dr. Tina, I've come to understand something about life, right? There are two different perspectives about that I've developed about how people view life in university, and actually not even just university, but going from high school to university and beyond. There are two different perspectives. There are those that who strive to have a comfortable life, and there are those that strive to have it all. Now, my first question is there any way we can, there's like an in between to those two perspectives?
Um, I think it's going to depend on like the person, right? There is a myth that people say you can't have it all. I would say you can, but you might be tired. Um, but I would say like you have to figure out that balance for yourself. Um, but in essence, like strive for it, because it's you can only take yourself and get yourself so very far, because some people will tell you, well, you can't have it all, you can't have this, and then what happens is then people will internally not even try. You don't even know if you can have it because you've already psyched yourself out of doing whatever the thing is, right? So I'm gonna give you an example, and this is a real life example. I had a mentor who I was getting ready, I was applying for PhD programs. So I told you I went to Indiana State University, and I was applying for programs, and my other mentor was like, why are you applying to that program? Like, that don't even make no sense. That's not who you are as a person. I need you to apply for the Indiana State program. And I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna do it. But what happened is the other mentor was like, well, you just got a new job. How you gonna start a PhD program and a new job at the same time? That's too much newness. And I respect it, and I still respect this mentor. And I said, to this person, and I told y'all, my little bit about my history and context with my mom passing away. And I said, nothing in life has ever come perfect to me. At least at that time was probably like 10, 15 years. I said, I have always had to get it in the mud. I've always had to do things that are not the conventional way. So if I'm waiting on a perfect time for everything to line up, I'm never going to do it. And 5 years later, I completed the degree.
Mm-hmm.
So
Very
it is
inspirational.
like it's a thing, right? Like it's hard,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's what I mean by we have to do the hard things. It's hard, but I wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted my degree, and it's that degree was so hard. But
I can
I
only
wanted it.
imagine
So
PhD.
it listen, and I was working full time,
Oh my
and I was in
gosh.
a full time PhD. I'm talking about like more than the one class. I had 3 classes every semester.
Ooh.
As a like I was full time PhD student, full time working a really really full time job. So sometimes people will project onto you some of their limitations. So people will give you the advice based off of their lens. So sometimes again, if people haven't gone or maybe their journey to wherever it is that you're trying to go is different, they're going to tell you their perspective because sometimes they can't see where you're going.
Definitely, I agree. I was even thinking about it too. Like, I feel like the black youths in our community are starting to want to live a more comfortable life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that there's that like motive or that drive to strive to achieve more. And like I struggle to understand why that is, like do you think that our youths have become too comfortable?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that sometimes the folks who are we're in a space with, sometimes that's their piece. I think also that we also have to like take it back to like society. So the pandemic did something to us, right? And I mean, whether people want to acknowledge that, it changed us forever.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would say like my grandparents, they worked at factories and they did all of the manual labor. I'm not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like that's not the path for me, right? But some people would say that like you have it easy. Like I've had people tell me like, "Oh, you're always in school. Oh, you're always doing that," because my job is different,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like what I do and my path in life is different. I've never worked, well, I worked in a warehouse, but I've never worked in a factory. Lots of folks in my family worked in a factory. In the summers, I worked nice jobs. Like I worked at a bank in the summer. And my path wasn't centered on the struggle. My mother made sure of that. So as a result, people had their own views of my sister and I because we didn't struggle,
Mm-hmm.
right? And people would say, well, oh, you soft, oh, you this, oh, you that. And for me, the way my mother raised my sister and I, we are tough as nails. And when I say tough, it's literally my sister's a whole power lifter now. Like we're literally tough as nails.
Wow.
So it's all about like perspective and it's about your path. So yes, sometimes people feel like, well, they're not doing this, they're not doing that. Sometimes people are doing it differently. So I think of it in a comparison like during the pandemic, because this was the whole thing. People going viral on TikTok, people getting the money. Now I just joined TikTok for real, like, May of 2025, whenever y'all looking at this. So I was new to TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
but seeing the people who making thousands of dollars, right? That's a different path. Now listen, I gotta make my coins the way I make my coins, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not my path. Like I don't want to be a full blown social media creator. Like I do content, I do that for fun. But right now in this season, so if y'all watching this and I blow up on social media, it's because that's what the good creator, my good God, wanted me to do. But right now, I don't think that's my path,
Okay.
right? But for other people, it is like it is their path, and I think we need to respect that, right? We need to respect that like there are different ways to get to a bag.
Mm-hmm.
Now for me, I'm going to go back to it. I'm always going to say that education, higher education is going to be important because
Yes.
in any job that you have, your accountant has to be certified. You even have your teachers, they have to go through some level of credentialing.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a level of credentialing, right? It's how we do it. So it's going back to, I guess, the tweet, right? how were people prepared? How do we get people into that space, right? Like I always feel some type of way when people are like college isn't or the university isn't for everybody, but education
It's for
is.
everybody.
And like
Yes, yes.
you cannot tell me no profession where you literally are going into where you don't have to learn how to do something. Even in the skilled trades, you have to be credentialed. You have to get some level of, you have to be able to get something. So it is so important to know that knowledge is true power and that you always got to seek education for it. So that's why I'm like, you know what? Wherever the space it is that you operate, go and seek a higher education so that you can continue to be better, right? And if that's not what your path is, sometimes that's like your path. But I do feel like in a lot of these instances, people are learning. They're learning how to do things. Like at one point, there was this app called Clubhouse. I think it's still around, but Clubhouse, and people were on Clubhouse teaching and doing all these things. You could go on Clubhouse and get to a bag. I know because I did. Like you and again, like I have a consulting business. Unfortunately, I don't do it as much as I used to, but like you can like I was making money on the internet, y'all. Like I was one of those people, but long term, that's not I enjoy I enjoy sharing knowledge. I enjoy writing. I enjoy being in community with people. And it comes back to this aspect of knowing yourself. So again, like I said, I can get to a bag on the internet, but
Is that really what you? Is
is
that
that
really
what
what you
I
want
want
to
to
do?
do,
Yeah.
right? But that may be somebody's other calling. Like I know undergraduates who probably are like they reckon in money. Like they're what do they call them now? Ambassadors. So they're ambassadors for major companies getting all of the free stuff. When you calculate that, it just looks different. So how do we embrace that and teach each other how to get to that stuff?
Okay.
So
Okay, that makes a lot of
Oh,
sense.
I had a question.
Okay, what's your
yes.
question?
But it's from when you said you were balancing a new PhD and like um what was it called?
Full-time job.
Full-time job, yeah. How was your social life?
Oh,
Well,
that's a great
so again,
question.
remember I said like it's a give and take with stuff, right? So for me, at the time, I worked in a very small town. I had access to a major city because that's always my goal is having access to a major city. But I had to balance. So like I was not like going out, and I don't even go out like that often because I had a good time in middle school, high school, and some of college, my college and university life. So I wasn't looking for that, but sometimes people are. So like me, I'm a girly girl. I need to go to get some makeup. I want to go. I want to go on the weekends to do things. So I just managed it. So I couldn't go every weekend because I had to write papers. I was in class. And if I wasn't in class, I was working because remember I had to work full time and I went to school full time. So like I came to a point to where I remember calling one of my homegirls, Dr. Patience Bryant, and she is a preacher's kid. So essentially her dad's a preacher. And I was like, girl, I said, how you get through this? And I'm like, I don't even know if I can go to church. And she was like, look, you have to manage your time. Is it going to church online? Go when you can. So I created a schedule. I would go to church on certain Sundays. So I was previously at every Sunday person, and I found I could write better on Sundays. So I would do the first Sunday because that's when we took communion. And then I would do the third Sunday. And sometimes I would switch it up or maybe I would do second and fourth. So I had to manage my time wisely and do it that way. Now, again, I'm not telling you I didn't have a social life, but it wasn't as social as it was when I wasn't in school. And wasn't in school and working full time. So that's how I managed it. If I wanted to do something like, no joke, I defended my dissertation, which was 2.5 hours of talking, grilling, doing all the things, 2.5 hours. And then that following week, maybe towards the end of the week, I went on a girls' trip. So, on the girls' trip in Jamaica, right before the pandemic, they were all doing excursions. I was sitting at the table doing the edits to my dissertation. And I told them, they was like, you paid so and so dollars to be here. I said, listen, I just defended my dissertation, honey. This gonna be I can always come back to Jamaica. And we gonna continue to lift Jamaica up in prayer whenever y'all, watch this. Just know Jamaica gonna always come back. But just thinking about that for me, that was a sacrifice for me at that moment. But now, oh no, I don't do nothing on vacation because that small moment in time, because I did that small moment, I can do all the big moments now. So That's what. So it's a little bit of give and take. You give up a little bit. So
Managing your time,
uh-huh.
managing your schedule. Okay,
And
that
that's
is
what y'all
very
should be doing
important.
now.
A
Yeah,
lot.
a lot of young.
Listen, it's the managing the time for me.
It's a struggle for me.
It is like you have to you'll get to find your groove, but you just have to be intentional about it. And sometimes you'll like give yourself grace. So like one week you might, oh, this is good, I got it. Another week it's like, oh, this is a good
Yeah,
old raggedy week.
yeah.
But keep at it, like, and nobody's perfect. I probably should have said this in terms of just thinking about like other advice is like nobody is perfect. I don't care what these people post on social media. Nobody is perfect. Always give yourself grace. Everybody messes up. Everybody has a moment that they're not proud of, but always give yourself grace. You earn that because it's so easy for us to give everybody else grace.
Yeah.
And then we just so hard on ourselves. Like we just didn't get a person through something. Give yourself grace. That's what's important. That's a part knowing yourself and evolving as a person.
Definitely. Oh, before we wrap up today's episode, Dr. Shatina Jones had mentioned in the beginning that you are married or you are
Yes,
getting
I am
married. Oh, she's
officially
officially married. Yes,
married.
she said she's officially married. Please allow us to give us one more round of applause. Dr. Shatina Jones. Dr. Shatina Jones Smith. Yes.
Thank you,
Dr.
friends.
Shatina
Thank you,
Jones
thank you.
Smith. With that being said, Dr. Shatina, can you please, Dr. Shatina Jones Smith, sorry, can you please, give us a little word of advice for those who are interested or those who are going through, you could say relationship issues, relationship problems, situationships, friendships, and basically those who are struggling with that in university or the college level. How can you sustain good relationships with your peers, whether it's romantic or on a friendship level?
Whew, so much to that. So here's what I will say. I'm going to start like how I started before. Know yourself. Know yourself before you get involved with anybody, right? So it's huge to know who you are as a person. It's also equally huge to just make sure that is this the right time, right? I think that sometimes some of us are socialized to think like we need to get in a relationship, we need to get married, like there's a timeline for all of these things. But I promise you, knowing yourself is huge. And then when you know yourself, then you know how to treat other people. And when you know how to treat other people, then you can actually be in an active relationship, right? And then also, too, in whatever relationship that you're in, feedback is important, but also too, when you know yourself, be able to know like warning signs for when things are not healthy, when you're in an unhealthy relationship, being able to take feedback but also process it, and internalize it, but also making sure that you are thinking of the other person is huge. I think in any friendships should always be two-way streets, but sometimes they are one-way streets, right? But if there is a one-way street, because sometimes we do go down a one-way where one friend is in a season and they particularly they it's just a lot happening for them. Make sure it doesn't stay a one way. Make sure it shifts back the other way, right? When you can have good, healthy relationships, like friendships, then indulge in like an actual relationship. And when I say like a relationship, like a romantic relationship, because again, you know yourself, you know how to move with people, you know what you're gonna take, what you're gonna not take. Again, going back to those values, are you in a space to where your family says you cannot, have a relationship until you get married? Like, what are the things that you want, and what are the things that you are connected to in a relationship? Is huge. It's so, so, so very huge. I would say number one, communication is important. Communication is important. Understanding who it is that you're in a relationship with. How do you communicate with them? I'm going to say the millennial thing, which is stop always text messaging. Like, be able to hear somebody's voice, be able to feel their energy, read the body language, be able to have a conversation. Don't be trading stuff on Twitter, TikToks, and all of Instagram, all the other things. Like, think about how do you communicate, because having the interpersonal skills will always help you in a relationship. The second thing in a relationship is be able to know if you are aligned together. So sometimes we will, we'll talk to people because They convenient for this respective moment. But do you want that moment to turn into a lifetime? And what type of life do you want to have? And does this person align with the direction that you're going in? That is huge. And then the last thing that I will say is be able to always have a level of respect. The moment that you think that the relationship is going in a disrespectful way, or that you are always on the receiving end of disrespect, or you're disrespecting a person, let that thing go. Go ahead and cut that off real quick, because you don't want to lose yourself. Don't lose yourself in any relationship. And the bonus to this for college students, live your life. I'm telling you, live it, because there's so much life to live. College and university is a time to where folks are able to figure out who they are as a person. You don't have to be whatever that is, right? So some people are like, you gotta go to a college and university and find your mate. If you don't, it's okay. If you're 30, 35, 40, whoever it is, don't rush into it. Don't rush into it. Don't do the things, right, that people tell you to do, because you'll wind up living an unhappy life. So wait till the time is right for you. And here's the thing. Again, don't come to the first week of school like, I got to find my mate. But if you find a mate, like if it naturally happens, like your sophomore or your third or fourth year, that's okay too. Live, experience, go on a study abroad. I mean, heck, you might even find somebody when you go on a study abroad. Like, live, be open, experience the world. Because once you're with a person, especially like when you get married, you committed. So your particular, like your individuality is merged and blended in with your partner. So what I'm not saying is that you lose yourself, but sometimes it's not the I and it's the we. And if you get so connected and you like, I'm gonna marry somebody on the second day at the college university, like we're gonna get married at the end of college, but you don't have the opportunity to experience life, you'll live life having regrets, and you never want to live life having regrets.
Of course. No, we don't want that. Thank you. Honestly. Thank you so much for that advice. I'm also looking at it from my perspective too. For Sierra Uni, I feel like I didn't really take that time to grasp what it really meant to start university. I think for me, I was just really I always told myself this. People know, well, people that I went to high school with, the ones that I was really close with, I always told them that when I go to university, like I want to have my own black group. Like I want to be surrounded with my own people. Like I want to be able to come to university every day knowing that when I'm done with class, I'm going to go meet my people. But it got to a point where I had to realize that that's not how it's always going to be. And like you said, university is really a time for you to discover yourself and who you are, what you enjoy, your hobbies, just understanding the type of person that you want to become. So I think, yeah, definitely what you said is very useful for a lot of us, very useful for me. Really appreciate you taking that time to give us that advice. Hopefully you guys will take that and put that into consideration, when you're thinking about your relationships or thinking about the people that you're trying to become friends with. Anyways, we're wrapping up our episode for today. Dr. Stina, before you leave, please can you take us English is a hard language to master. Can you teach us something? Like anything. Like if there's anything that you wish any of us could learn, it could be academic lessons or a quick life lesson, like anything that you wish we everyone knew.
Never stop learning.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes we get ourselves in a position to where like we stop ourselves. We're like, okay, this is gonna be good, but then I'm gonna get here and then I'm gonna stop, right? Like I'm going to continue, like always try, use the critical thinking, like go for it. I think about most of the things that I've done in my life. I have done it scared. I've done it scared. I tried a new thing. Stop trying to not try new things. I think it's Drake who talks about no new friends. I don't agree with that. I think it's important because your network determines your net worth. So really being able to try new things and just get out of your comfort zone. Okay. Like it's huge. It's huge.
I feel like we've gotten a lot of wisdom.
Wisdom, yeah. See, I didn't talk much because I'm absorbing.
I love it. I love it. I love
so
it.
So much wisdom from Dr. Shatina Jones Smith. Once again, I want to say thank you so much for taking this time out of your day to join the podcast. And before we conclude, please take this time to shout out any of your social media platforms, even the ones that you know that
we got them.
you could. Oh, you said, oh, we know them.
We got them.
We got them.
It's the we got them
We
for
got
me.
them.
So of course follow me. And it's not gonna change because I need to keep that my social media handle, which is DrShetinamJones. I'm not gonna add the Smith because I think it's gonna confuse the people.
Oh, yeah.
But it is Dr. Shetina M. Jones. I'm not really on the Twitter, X, whatever it's called in this season of its iteration. But I'm definitely on Instagram. Instagram is my jam. I'm not really a for real TikToker in real life, but
So check her out on TikTok.
Listen, all you're gonna see is wedding photos because I'm gonna teach these people how to do this well. So, but yeah, you can follow me on that. I do have a business page, SM Jones Consulting. It's been debunked because I told y'all I've been taking a break. But yes, follow me, engage. I do like to engage on social media. I post, I do all the things. But I just want to thank y'all for having me here.
Thank you
I've had the
coming.
opportunity to listen to y'all, and I love the conversations and the dialogue, and I'm just proud of what y'all doing, and just keep doing it.
Thank you so much.
Please
Dr.
keep doing
Shetina.
it.
Thank you. Once again, I want to say thank you so much to every one of you guys for viewing visually. Our audio viewers, please don't forget to comment down below. Let us know your thoughts, your concerns. Maybe Dr. Shetina Jones Smith, maybe she can expand on some of the things that she's talking about. Again, social media, you can hit her up on our social media platforms. Leave us 5 stars if you can. Comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe.
Please.
Subscribe.
Because I subscribed.
Please.
And did.
If Dr. Shetina Jones Smith is subscribing, why aren't you subscribing? Make it make sense. Also, please comment down below if you're watching on YouTube and let us know what your thoughts are on today's episode. If there's something again that you need more more information on, leave it in the comment section and we'll definitely get back to you as soon as you can. Thank you so much for watching today's episode and we'll see you in the next episode. Peace. Daniel, I can't be new. Daniel, I can't be new.